Are you mocking me?
Are you mocking me?
This bitch. Hello and welcome to Lavanda. My name is Cielo and today we're going to be doing a tarot book review. A little backstory as to why I purchased this book. While I was beginning my craft and I was being heavily influenced by witch talk, don't recommend, I became very insecure about my practices with tarot because I felt like I didn't have all the information, or I didn't feel like I was as intelligent as other witches as they were talking about their divination. And so I got this out of panic because I felt like I wasn't good enough. So the book that we'll be talking about today is a little bit of tarot, an introduction to reading tarot by Cassandra Eason. And this is what I've gathered so far. I have a notepad, and Sage gave me a lot of notes, so if I have a hard time reading things, it's because Sage wrote in green and I wrote in black, and because my handwriting is super light, hard to read. Cassandra Eason is an international author and broadcaster and a practicing solitary druidess and a white witch. Cassandra runs workshops on psychic development, magic, witchcraft, all forms of divination, crystals healing, auras, and chakra work. I saw that I had a comma, I don't know if that was supposed to be there. And nature spirituality. And spirituality. Don't know why I keep adding a sh. She has written numerous books, including Love Magic, Protection Magic, the complete Crystal Handbook, and a spell a day. Cassandra Eason, on her thing, says that she's a practicing solitary druidess. I don't know if that is factual or not. I can't say. Because she is a British author, she might have family members, relatives who are actually Irish, and she learned that from her close family or people who are in the practice, and she was able to get that knowledge. So I cannot say. However, she does say that she's a white witch, and that isn't really a great thing, because white witch, or being somebody who is practicing white magic, is, hey, Sparky, is reinforcing that there is white magic and black magic, and that is rooted in white supremacy. Another thing is that Cassandra says that she, or according to this, says that she does chakra work, and I'm not too sure about that. As somebody who's done a little bit of research on chakras, I'm not completely a person to trust about chakras, of course not, I'm American. Learning about chakras from the west side and the east side are completely different, and especially since she is British, it might be completely different to what is actual chakra work from Hindu practices. Correct? Okay. I had to double check my sources because oh my god! I'm terrible at describing things. So online I looked up if she had some controversies because I wanted to be able to inform anybody of any other things that she's done based off of other books, because I accidentally purchased 3. This is the first one that I purchased, and the other 2 I'll be talking about later. What I could find online for controversies is cultural appropriation, being a white witch. She has done a book about palmistry, which, again, might not be the greatest source, because palmistry is a part of Romani magic, and that is technically a part of a closed practice, correct? Mm-hmm. Yes. And people who talk about palmistry, if they are not Romani, definitely don't teach it the right ways. Or just completely rip stuff off. One thing that Cassandra has done, I think it's in one of her A Spell a Day books, if I'm remembering correctly, she has talked about blood magic. Specifically about using menstrual blood, and these are normally catered to beginner witches, or witches who are still learning about magic and spell works, so no. In Cassandra's book, the only thing that I could find was that she has a spread with the G slur in it. The G slur is a derogatory word against Romani folks, and even though in the past we might have not known that this was a slur against Romani folks, while we have more conversations, we should be more aware about that this is a derogatory word. And if you're British, I feel like you would know that more than Americans. I don't know, man. You kind of just took over a whole bunch of places, so I don't know, man. So something that I pointed out about a little bit about tarot is that it doesn't go in depth about the important stuff about tarot. One of the things that she talks about in the very beginning is choosing the right pack. So she talks about how the Rider Waite, wow, how do you say that?
Rider Waite.
She talks about how the Rider Waite is a really good tarot to go for, saying select a highly illustrated pack. For example, the Rider Waite, upon which the majority of modern packs are based. Some of my favorite items are the Universal White, the Druidcraft Tarot, and the Celtic Tarot, and Mythic Tarot, or the Morgan Greer pack. These packs are ideal for learning because every card, not just for the first 22 major cards, have a picture to guide you. So if you were on my TikTok, I highly doubt it because my TikTok hasn't been anything useful. Picking a tarot is important to the individual. The tarot decks will pick you rather than you pick it. When you're looking for one, they will often call to you, or you will feel a certain connection with them, and that will be dependent on you. That will be dependent on them, and that will happen in its own time. I apologize if the light keeps changing. Sparky is moving around. The Rider Waite is a beginner-friendly tarot, but for some people it might not be a good option. For myself, my first tarot was a gift, and I'm not going to go in depth about that because that is very personal and private to me. But when I was beginning to have a doubt with my tarot and a doubt with my divination practices, I tried going for the Rider Waite. I didn't purchase it because I did not feel any calling towards it. It felt forced and I never liked it. Not to mention, the Rider Waite is, from what I've understood and what other divination practitioners have said, is that it is definitely more aimed towards a Catholic-based for its tarot readings, meaning that a lot of the illustrations are going to be using Catholic-based. Sparky, stop looking at the light. Such as the High Priest or the High Priestess. Oftentimes that will be in reference to priest and priestess for the church. And depending on what you look at, that might not be something that you want to be a part of, especially for myself, since I want to stray away from the Catholic Church or stray away from Catholic-based practices. But basically, she doesn't go in depth about how it's important to pick out a deck, and how the importance of a deck calling to you is more important than picking a random one that's just going to be your beginner guide. Yes, the Rider Waite is great for beginners, but for me, the best thing for beginners is to pick one that's calling to you, and you will figure it out because they will help you. Another thing that Cassandra has done with the tarot is she's definitely focused on the positives of the tarot meanings. Tarot is not a scary thing to practice. From my experiences of tarot and how long I've been doing it, tarot is really not scary. Our lives are unpredictable, and our lives cannot be predicted simply based off one card. Cards will tell you many things, and cards will tell you about the future that they can see, but even then, those things will make us nervous because we are nervous people. We are paranoid of the future and paranoid of what might happen. That doesn't mean that the card meanings are going to be bad. The biggest ones that are always seen as negatives are always the blades or swords to some, the Death card and the Tower. These have negative meanings, but that doesn't mean that the outcome is always going to be terrible. I've had the tarot come up, or not the tarot. I've had the Tower come up many times, and each and every single time I've let the tower do what the tower needed to do, and even if it was very scary and very hard for me to experience, I always came out of it completely fine. And that's how I've always accepted the tower, and people need to accept the tower as it is. It will be scary because change and rapid change is very terrifying, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad thing all the time. Cassandra just says that it's a great thing. Let me read it for you. She says the tower is the Tower of Liberation, the Rebuilding Better Than Before card, which the tower is known as the Destruction because it's destruction. The tower, traditionally called the Tower of Destruction, is a fact of sign of freedom from constraint in your life. It refers to an event that is happening at the time of the reading, or an event you know is necessary to clear stagnation and restrictions. The card can represent the clearing of actual obstacles in your path that have been holding you back from fulfilling your potential or happiness. Yes, there will be distributions, but it will give you a far more open, fulfilling future, and even a new lifestyle. I do not agree with that, purely because the tower can be the tower. Sometimes there's not going to be a great thing coming out of the tower, sometimes it's just destruction. Now here's Sage's comments, because Sage is so much... My gosh.
Don't tell them that I'm so much better at this than you are, because don't lie to them.
Sage is so much better at this than I am.
No.
They're so much better at taking notes than I am. Fun fact, when I was reading this, I had the hardest time finishing it because I felt sick every time I read it. That should have been my first time. So Sage's comments is, the first thing is about angels and guides. So Cassandra definitely brings up angels a lot. Angels are a big thing that they keep bringing up for whatever reason, which I did see that I do believe that they believe more in angelic-based beings, because they started, what I understand when I was like skimming through their stuff, they started doing more craft-based practices, or started becoming more open about the craft when their child foretold that their husband was going to be in a motorcycle accident. Angels may exist and be present for many people, but they are mostly Christian/Catholic, any Abrahamic religion, and anything that are related to angels by most narrators of such things simply belong to the heaven-like region/space. Not every peaceful, healing, blinding white light creature is an angel. Sage was basically talking about how in different religions or in different cultures, white lights or white creatures or healing creatures are not going to be all angels, but it can be easily described as angels because that is the most universal knowledge that we have. They gave me a nod, so I said that correctly. The second one is, superstitions are things for a reason, and buying your own first pack can be bad luck. This is a superstition. Superstitions is fine. We believe that if we purchase our first decks, that is bad luck because your tarot will start reading only bad readings. Meaning that if you are asking about good things coming up in the future, it will only read bad. It won't give you the right readings, and therefore hinder what the actual answer will be. But people can be superstitious, people can be skeptical, and people don't have to go based off that idea. Ooh. Their third note was a really, really good note, because oftentimes whenever I read these types of things, I will just like nod and be like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. One thing that she talked about is, rather than keeping your cards in a box, buy a large fabric wallet or drawstring bag. Some practitioners wrap the pack in white silk or natural fabric within the bag. And for myself, when I first read this, I was like, oh, you're right. Give my tarot a better environment to rest in. And Sage put down, you don't always need to buy things. The simplest answer. But then they also added, they can be made by hand. Use fabric you have already, or anything you have on hand, because when you make something or you have something that you have on hand, your tarot are going to appreciate that much more than going out and buying something, because it means that you made it for them, and it's connected in many different ways of with your energy and with love and with care and with the thought process of your tarot being comfortable. And another note from Sage is, please do not feel like you need to work with angels. You do not need to work with angels if you really do not want to. You do not need to work with anything if you do not want to. That is your choice. That is your practice, not anyone else's practice. It's your practice for a reason, not their practice.
I just want to add really fast that not only is it really helpful to make something for your deck, the act of making something yourself kind of influences how you feel about your deck, and you being able to create something for them gives you a little bit of a something to do and helps you connect with your deck, even if you don't have like all of the
Material. Things. Willpower. Connection. Influence.
all of
Information.
those things. Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't have all of the things at hand that you need or that you want, so you feel like a big, super talented practitioner. Are you good?
I got dizzy.
You don't need all these fancy things and big fancy tools and cool stuff just to be like a practitioner. You can be whoever you are, just as you are, and then everyone grows from somewhere. Building something from things that you have on hand already helps you kind of bolster that idea, and then gives you something to feel accomplished with, especially if you can make it like to your own specs.
You can also just like do a simple thing. You are pushing me in the wrong direction. Thank you. You can also literally just not put them in anything. You can just listen to your deck and be like, yo, what do you want? You can ask them. Literally, there's so many spreads to just talk to your deck and be more connected with your deck like that. For example, I have... how many decks? I have like, I think 4 decks. My very, very personal one is in a box because it was gifted to me in a box. My second deck is out with a crystal. My third deck is in a box because, in a paper box, because I want to get it a actual bag because it will be my travel deck. And my other one is in the original box because I don't know what to do with it quite yet. That's not because I haven't connected with it or anything, it's just because I'm still figuring out how this deck works specifically, because it is very important for me to understand what the purpose is behind the decks before I put them in anything in specific. Honestly, with how they are, I'm probably just going to keep them out of the box once I figure things out and wrap them in leaves instead. The fourth one, which is finding your own style of tarot on the chapter. And they said, feels like advertising for Rider Wade. Yeah, they do. She does that quite a bit. It's a good, simple, easy to understand deck for beginners, but it doesn't work for every day, or for everybody, or for everything. Like I said, for many people, Rider Wade might not be the right thing to go for. Sage had another one, giving depth to readings. It is more difficult to make it. It's no more difficult to mix 2 identical packs and read them than to use one. If you prefer keep the 2 card packs separate and alternately, sorry about that, my mouth isn't working. Take from both so you always have the required numbers of cards in total. I forgot this was in here, so I'm really glad that they pointed it out. They said, do not mix your decks. No 2 decks are going to be the same. They do not behave the same and will have a clash of personalities or actions. It's disrespectful and can be dangerous. Even though they say similar decks, it's still don't do that. Because essentially your tarot decks are 2 separate beings and 2 separate people. So even if you have them with the same deal, mixing them together is going to be like mixing 2 people together that aren't supposed to be together. Don't do that. It's disrespectful. It can cause a lot of harm to them and cause a lot of harm to you. And depending on like what decks you're using, what types of deck you're using, it can be dangerous in the sense of what you might be causing harm to. Don't do that. Whoever's watching this, don't do that. Do not mix two decks together. They're supposed to be separate. There was one thing that I needed to point out because Sage didn't put it down either, and I didn't put it down in my notes. Cassandra did put in a spread, not only the G-slur spread, they also put down the Tree of Life spread, which the Tree of Life is very significant to many cultures. The Tree of Life can be found in different practices, and the Tree of Life is also significant mainly in the Celtic practices. But this specific spread is actually not Celtic. Wow. It's actually Jewish, and it's a part of a Jewish witchcraft. So this spread is very much closed. Could you actually please pronounce this word that is in there, because you know how to say that more than I do?
Based on the old mystical Kabbalistic wisdom, it's like Cabal.
Yeah.
That's just where that comes from.
Yeah. So we're gonna put that back there for right now. So Sage's final notes is, in the book, Cassandra uses challenges instead of using like the actual words, which would be negatives or reversed. It only talks about the tarot in a positive light, exactly like what I talked about. Willfully ignores the negatives, the individuality of the decks or cards, and makes it so that the readers has no faults. Which is not true. We're humans. We all have flaws, whether we like to admit it or not. Closed practices are mentions and slurs, and then they gave a rating of their own, which is 4 out of 10. Good plus cheap for very beginners, but there are better areas out there than this, that causes less troubles. Which, those causes less troubles are these guys. Like I said, when I was going back into this stuff, I thought I wasn't as knowledgeable as I was, and then I realized that I actually was, and I shouldn't have been listening to others. I love everything. So, the first book that I purchased besides this one was the Tarot Bible. I don't really 100% recommend this. I really only recommend this for the spreads. It does not talk about them in reverse, which is what I was hopeful for when I originally got this, and when I realized that, I was like, fake. But it does have different tarot spreads that I would definitely recommend a lot more than the ones that are in that book. If you have this, I definitely recommend it. If you don't go out and buy it, but if you want to find it like somewhere online, definitely do that. The author is Sarah Bartlett, and what I can remember seeing about her is that she does talk about tarot and a lot of other like divination practices, but it's not her main area of focus. So that's that. No, I'm a liar. It's art. That's what it was. But the book that I definitely recommend is the Tarot Companion. This book I definitely recommend. I got this because I was helping a friend out with reading their tarot cards because they just got their first deck, and I was reading it to get a better idea of what they were saying. This has the upright meaning and the reversed meaning, which is exactly what I needed when I was learning about tarot again. And it also begins with really quick information, and it's not super overwhelming. It starts with the introduction to tarot, how to begin, attuning with the deck, turning over cards, shuffling the deck, and different methods, card layouts, but it's mainly focused on the definitions and what the tarot will have. It is based off the Rider-Waite, but it has a lot of information, so even if it is based off that, it's really helpful to learn. Lisdean is definitely more based on... Hold on, am I mixing them up? Give me a second. No, I was on the right track. Okay. Liz Dean is also a British writer, but she is more focused on divination practices and divinations for learning about divinations and making books about divination. So I definitely recommend this way more than Cassandra Eason.
Once again, this is not an end-all be-all conversation, and you guys can definitely chime in the comments with your own experiences or books that you want us to review next, even if they're on like similar topics. This doesn't necessarily work the same for oracles, because that's an entirely different beast. Oracles and tarot are not the same. They are like distant cousins.
They're similar in the sense of like they overlap, but they're not the same.
Oh yeah, you can totally make your own tarot decks.
Oh yeah.
You can draw them on paper, you can draw them on playing cards, you can do whatever. Tarot is what you make of it, and you can decorate it, you can do whatever you want.
On my TikTok, I definitely talk about that a little bit more because someone asked me a question, which I'm totally fine with questions being asked. I would not suggest it constantly, purely because I don't want to be somebody who accidentally gives the wrong information or somebody who people go to for a lot of advice, because I would feel bad if I made someone feel bad about their practice. I would personally, that would destroy me personally. But I do talk about that on my TikTok, and I can talk about it more on here if you want me to, and talk about how tarot works. I am not a wonderful practitioner. I have just been practicing since I was able to remember. So, yeah. But if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you're more than welcome to comment down below. You're allowed to reach out. You're allowed to do anything that you need to, because I am not going to allow other people's voices to be silenced. And as I am learning, everyone else is allowed to learn. We are not going to be shunning people for somebody who is learning, as long as we all collectively understand that people make mistakes, and who want to learn will learn. But anyway, that's all for this, folks.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. And my next video will be about something else, once we figure it out. I hope you folks have a lovely night, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Tienes un buenas noches.